Alright, no time to explain gang. Welcome back, KingXeph here, back with the first video of 2025. Happy New Year, everybody. I hope you guys made it. I hope you guys had fun throughout the holidays or last night, getting your New Year's resolutions together and actually hopefully committing to them. I don't like New Year's resolutions for me personally, because it's one of those things that is like, a lot of people say them and they make them and then they don't hold up to them. So I just try to be better than I do last year. That's generally my New Year's resolution, is do more and be better than I was the previous year. So that's the continuing goal for this one. But this is going to be a shorter video. It's the first video of the year. I know it's not going to be a stupid unboxing video or anything crazy like that. We do have some sets coming out very, very soon. We do have Supreme Darkness coming out. I believe the premiere event for that is in 2 weeks. And then that set comes out at the tail end of the year. And then we got a May set coming out in a couple weeks after that. So there's a lot of little sets and stuff that we'll be cracking open. Some things I'm probably going to catch up on. I know I didn't open anything from the last set of Lorcana. I just didn't have the funds for it because there was a lot of stuff going on in Yu-Gi-Oh! And I kind of just didn't have the time to really commit to that. So I'm probably going to go back and open that one. Fortunately, those booster boxes from where I get my stuff from isn't super expensive, so it shouldn't be too hard for me to get product on that side. And plus, there hasn't been a product issue since the first two sets, so getting Lorcana isn't really an issue. But if you guys remember previously from an older video, I'm probably going to show a little screenshot of it down below and also link it in the bio. I took my first crack at card grading somewhere in the middle. I think it was, it was in June, I remember, because it was right before the Chicago Lorcana Challenge. I had sent a couple cards out to BGS to get my first crack at grading. I've always been kind of enthused in the whole grading thing, especially grading cards that I feel like are going to hold value or that look great in slabs, or cards that mean something important to me. So I tried that out. It worked out really, really well. I'm probably going to try to regrade the Elsas because they did get 9.5s. I feel like they honestly could get 10s. I'm not expecting a black label, but I'm going to try probably one of those again at a time and do a grade review on those later in the future. But I also brought up the fact that I also wanted to give a shot at PSA grading, even though I'm not a big fan of how PSA does their grading stuff, and especially when it comes to pricing, because they get more expensive as the card's value shoots up. And then a lot of times, if you get a 10, it bumps up the card's value, and then they upcharge you. And sometimes it's very scummy because it feels like you're paying for your 10s if the 10 is worth a lot of money. So I generally don't like to really have that idea, and I don't like the feeling that it's like, oh, I'm paying to have a perfect 10 grade scale. Hence why I use BGS, because BGS doesn't do that. BGS just grades it. You pay for however fast you want them to grade it, and they're going to grade it. So finally, I actually have the opportunity. I've been planning this for a little while, but haven't really had all the pieces to the puzzle to get together. So today is going to be part one of a couple part video. I'm going to be sending 4 cards. Really, it's going to be 12 total. I'll show you. I'll explain the other cards later, but I'm going to send 4 cards to BGS and 4 cards to PSA. I'm going to judge basically how fast they get graded, how soon they get back, and what their grades are. All the cards I'm sending are roughly the same. I've inspected them. Edges, corners, all that other stuff, surface and condition. All of them pretty much look exactly the same. There's going to be 2 Lorcana cards and 2 Yu-Gi-Oh cards. The Lorcana cards are a little bit trickier because sometimes I can't tell how to grade the centering of them. But I saw my 2 that seemed like they were slightly off center, but they're roughly the same. So I'm seeing the exact same sample sizes, exact same conditions, and exact same circumstance of the cards. I'm going to show you the cards in a hot second. And we're just going to see how long they take for both companies to get graded. I know PSA is supposedly a little bit faster at grading than BGS, but also I got my BGS return a little bit faster than I expected as well, so we're going to gauge on that one. Side note for PSA. PSA also, you can ship your cards out to PSA just like you can ship them out to BGS. For this, I'm actually going to test out GameStop PSA. I know it's going to sound a little funky for you guys that are integrating, and I've done that. I know there's a lot of feedback and pushback on stuff going on from GameStop because people just don't trust the cards from GameStop. Fortunately, there's only one card in here that's actually worth any little bit of money, and it's not a lot of money, so I'm not too worried about it. And plus, I'm taking the GameStop near me that does card grading to send it to PSA is my actual regular GameStop I go to. They know me personally and all that other stuff, so I trust them more than I would trust any other random store. So we're going to test that out as well. Reason being I'm doing that is because it's actually more cost effective for me to do that. I do have the GameStop Pro rewards, so they actually waive the shipping costs to grade for PSA, so that way I don't have to pay for the shipping and all that other stuff, and they get delivered back to the store. So it's just a way for me to save money on that side, because it is roughly about $18 a card or higher to grade, and sending it to 2 different grading companies and everything else in between makes it a little more complicated. BGS doesn't have free shipping, but they had a holiday promo which actually saved me a little bit money, which is also why I'm going to be shipping more cards than just the sample 4, because I have a couple of the cards I want BSA to grade, and so I took advantage of the promo to grade a couple more things. So let's look at the cards I'm going to ship out to grade, and I'll explain my rationale between them as well. So here are the 2 piles that I'm going to be sending out to each company. Let's just start here. So I'm going to actually show off the cards. One card I'm shipping out are 2 copies of Bucky, the legendary Bucky from Lorcana, Squirrel Squeak trailer. These are the league promo versions of them, so these are the cold foils. This is the pre-errata version, because this card did get errated. They killed Bucky because Bucky was running rampant in the leagues and all that other stuff. Really, he is a toxic card, I can't lie. As much as I used him, and I used the steel green deck in a lot of the leagues, this card was toxic. He had ward, so you couldn't be targeted by effects at all. And then of course, so you have to do blanket effects, so stuff that wiped the board as opposed to stuff that hit it specifically. And then whenever a Floodborn character was played, then your opponent had to discard a card. They did errata this, they made it from a 2 to a 3, they got rid of the ward, and they also made it so that way if you shifted into a Floodborn character, they discarded a card, which I thought was a little overkill. Really, all they had to do was one of 2 things. If they would have got rid of ward, it would have been enough, to be wholeheartedly honest. Or they could have upped the cost of this card from 2 to 3, or they could have changed the effect that if you shifted to a Floodborn. So really, the 3 things they changed, if they had simply changed just one of those 3 things, this card would have been fine, to be wholeheartedly honest. So now there's the errata version. I have not got my hands on the errata version, because apparently you're supposed to go to your LGSs and get one. I've yet to see one, and I really haven't talked about it, because at this point no one's going to play Bucky anymore, so there's really not a purpose for me to have it. So the reason I'm grading this in specifically, because this is the original Bucky. And I feel personally, even though this card is relatively inexpensive, I feel like in the future it's a good thing to have graded in an investment, because a lot of times, especially when it comes to collecting, sometimes people just don't want the errata, they want the original version. So I feel like it's a good card. It's not that expensive right now, it's relatively cheap, it's like a $2 card, but who knows, in the future it might go up in value, and if it grades high, it might be higher on that one. So I do have 2 of those each. This one is the one that actually looks a little bit more centered and better. And then, no, actually it's this one, the first one. The top one is the one that actually looks a little bit more centered in comparison. It's hard to gauge centering with Lorcana, because you can do the borders on the sides, but the top and the bottom borders are a little bit trickier because you have the stamping and everything in that section. So it's kind of hard to really gauge them. But if you can see closely on this one, you can see that it's a little bit slumped down and a little bit arced. It's kind of really hard to see on camera. You probably have to look a little bit more closely, or if you have to really know what you're looking for. So this one's probably not gonna get, this one's probably gonna get a 9 if I was to be a betting man, but in terms of condition, everything is flawless. The corners are fine, the edges are fine, the surface are fine. So those are two of these for PSA, 2 of these for Beckett. And then for the Yu-Gi-Oh cards, these are gonna be OCG cards. So this is the History Archive Collection's Blue Eyes White Dragon. I opened this in the channel, one of the, probably, I think it's not the first one, but it's one of the very first batch of OCG openings I did. This card was one of the promo, not really promo, but it was one of the chase pull cards in a Prismatic Secret Rare in the what tins were those? 2024, 2023, 2022 tins. So it was the 10 of the Lost Pharaoh. That was the one that had the last piece that had the slab for the Tablet of Lost Memories. So this featured basically a little bit more of an anime art Blue Eyes White Dragon from the manga, a Red Eyes Black Dragon, and then of course a Dark Magician Girl. The Dark Magician Girl is probably the one that's most coveted and most expensive because of waifu tax. So I'm sending this one out. I feel like this card is perfectly centered. It's in great condition, so I feel like this should at least get a 9 point, at least get a 10 from PSA, maybe a 9 from PSA depending who's grading it. But from the Beckett side, it's probably going to get close to either a 9.5, maybe a 10. But we'll see how that goes. OCG card stock is a lot better than TCG card stock, so the cards are a lot more better quality and they have a little bit less issues. So I'm sending that, and then I'm also sending, this is the card that costs the most, is the Dark Magician Girl. I opened History Archives collection a second time in hopes of pulling this one, because I did pull this and the Red Eyes in the first couple boxes, which at first, I think the first boxes I bought were very expensive, and then I found a group of other boxes that were really, really cheap, so I bought them. And that was, I think, one of the first chase videos that I did, where it's like, I'm gonna try to pull this card out of those boxes, and then we're not gonna stop doing that until we do. I still have to go back to that when it comes to the Exodia pieces in the OCG, which they haven't even released the other 2 pieces, which is kind of throwing me off. I don't know what sets are gonna do that for, if they just abandon that. But I did pull 2 of these relatively quickly, so that video was a lot more lackluster than I thought it would be, because I was expecting this card to be hard to pull, with this being the most expensive card in that set. And I hit lightning twice and pulled it relatively quickly. I'll have that video linked in the bio as well, if you guys want to go back and time travel and see, one, how the channel has evolved a little bit in terms of the video quality, but as well as seeing how we pulled this card. So this is a card I'm wholeheartedly expecting to get at least a 10 from BGS, maybe a 10 from PSA. And then of course, these are the same cards for BGS. Exact same 4 cards, exact same conditions. And so we're gonna be doing it on that side. So we're gonna be sending those off to PSA and sending those off to BGS to gauge those other ones. Honorable mentions, these are the other cards I'm gonna be sending off to BGS. I'm gonna be sending my challenge promo, Dragonfire. I didn't know what I was going to do with this card wholeheartedly. I didn't know if I was just going to keep it in a binder or not. This card's roughly about 50 bucks, because they give you this for participating in the challenges. All you have to do is make it to round 3, I think it was, and they gave you this card. So everybody that participated in the main event of the challenge got this. So I just decided, you know what, screw it, I'm going to get it graded. It's pretty much been in a penny sleeve and in a top loader since I got my hands on it at the challenge. So I figured, why not? Let's see what this card will grade as and see what I can do with this one. Another card I'm going to be graded is an OCG Blue Eyes White Dragon, the Kazuya Takahashi ones from the anniversary packs. This is one of my favorite Blue Eyes White Dragon arts. I do have this card in English. It is not the greatest condition. I would probably gauge it as light play. I have to relook at it, because somehow, some way, before I got really into sleeving my stuff when I was a child, I just tried to keep my cards in some of the cards that I loved, I tried to keep them in as best condition as humanly possible. So in the English version of this one, I'll probably show it in a future video, because some of you guys have asked to show off collections and stuff like that. And I'm gonna go a little bit more detail about that throughout the year, about starting collections, maintaining your collections, and a couple other things as well, and stuff that I do, and show off some of my binders and stuff that I'm working on, because there is a big collection that I'm working on for this year, to kind of work on that side. So I do have this in English. I gotta relook at the card. If the card looks better than I remember it does, I may send it to get graded. I'm probably gonna get an 8 on it, more than likely. I don't think it's gonna get higher than 8. But also, I wanna get my hands on another copy of it in English. The problem is, this card is like 200 bucks. I don't know if it's gone down or up, but the last time I kind of been keeping my eyes on it, it's been sitting between $150 and $200. And to get the pack itself, to get these cards packed fresh and brand new, people are selling them for like $800, which I get the rarity, but at the same time, the cards' values, if I were to buy them in singles, I would come out probably spending 400 bucks. Because I think the bulk of the cards, like the Buster Blader and the Summon Skull and stuff like that, I think they're like $25 a piece. I think the only expensive cards were definitely the Blue Eyes White Dragon, I think Jinzo, and maybe Red Eyes. I have to double check that. I can look on TCG Player later. We can talk about that in a future video. But if I were to buy these in singles, I would definitely be much better off, as opposed to buying a brand new pack. I'm hoping eventually somebody's either going to sell it cheaper or that, because you can buy the pack of these in the OCG, which is not the same as the one in the TCG, for like $30 or $40. So that's just on that one. I had a couple of these. This is the one that looked the best, so I'm going to send this out to get graded by BGS and see how that one does. The next card I'm going to send is my Prismatic Secret Rare Adidas Dark Magician. Now, this card is a little bit different. My boy, one of the people I follow, Strictly Sealed, I think he purchased one and got a PSA 10 of this. And he was bringing up the fact of how there weren't that many PSA 10s of this one, because of just how people handled them and how they were packaged inside the Adidas shoes. So some of them had like indentations from the holders and other stuff, and it's actually not a good idea to keep the cards in the plastic cellophane that it comes in, because it's very easy to scratch and scuff and all that other stuff. So when I bought these when they first came out, I immediately took it out and put it in a sleeve and put it in my binder, because I wanted to keep it in the binder just as another Dark Magician, because I did have a page of Dark Magicians, and I figured it looked nice in that. But bringing that up, I looked at mine and saw that this card looked really, really minty. There were no indentations, no scuffs or scratches or anything like that. I felt like this was mint enough, so I'm going to take my shot in the dark and see if I can get this graded. I hope this gets a 10. at the absolute least a gold label, which would be a 9.5, but I feel like this possibly could get at least a gold label 10. If it gets a black label somehow, some way, I will lose my shit. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. You'll probably see me do that on channel. But yeah, so I'm sending this one out, giving it a shot in the dark. If I don't like the grade, I can always crack the case and put it back in the binder. So if it gets anything under a 9.5 and whatever, then I'll probably just crack it and put it back in the binder. But that's the rationale for this one. And then last but not least, another Kazuya Takahashi exclusive card. This is the Astro Karibo. They have not released this card in the TCG. I don't know if they're ever going to, because this one and Magi Girl are the two Takahashi cards that they never released in English. There is a version of the Blue Eyes White Dragon that has Kaiba in it as well. They haven't released that one either yet. They use that as a promo card. They may do that in the future. I wouldn't be surprised if they release that as a future YCS prize card as they adjust the YCS pricing. But this card is pretty minty as well. It's a nice card because one thing I want to have in my collection, at least in my graded collection, I want to collect all the Takahashi art cards graded and put them in my briefcase. I do have the Kaiba Core briefcase that is actually padded inside to hold graded cards as opposed to holding raw cards. So I would love to have like the very top of it be everything from him and his special art cards in memory of him, and also just to have in the collection. So I did get my hands on this card a long time ago. I figured I'd get it graded, see if I can get a decent grade out of that one as I slowly build the collection up to the other ones in the near future. So there's the honorable mention for that one. So those are going to be the 4 extra cards I'm sending off to BGS because of the promo that I got for the holidays. It was a 10% off promo and free shipping, so I couldn't pass it up. So all of these, as you guys are watching this video, would have already been shipped off because I recorded this ahead of time because I wanted to get it shipped out as soon as humanly possible and avoid a lot of the holiday gist. So I kind of did it right after Christmas and right before today. So as you guys are watching this video, these have already been shipped out. So we're gonna be waiting on that time. And then when that time comes, we'll go openings. I don't know if I'm gonna do the openings together or if I'm gonna do them as they come in. I'm probably gonna do them as they come in, so that way it's a timestamp of showing like, hey, this one got here first, this one got here second, and then we can do a review once everything is all said and done. But those are all the cards gonna be shipping out to grading. Let me know what your opinions on these guys are. If you have any advice on grading or if you wanna know a little bit more, just leave a comment. I'll get back to you guys as soon as possible. If you wanna see more content like this, make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. And also just tell me what your thoughts about it are, and tell me what other type of content you would like to see more throughout the year as well. I'm going to be trying to do a lot more different things outside of unpackings and go over a couple more things as well in the near future, because I do have a lot of stuff that I want to do in the terms of the TCG space, Master Duel and a bunch of other things, gaming related, and just a bunch of other stuff, and some collabs too, because I did my collab with Dexplowed. That's one of my boys. He and I have been super tight, and I think he's cooking up something and has a challenge for me. I have a challenge for him as always, because he hasn't pulled a QCR yet. So I'm going to be waiting to see him actually pull a QCR that's not from like Rarity Collection or a promo card that you're guaranteed. I want to see my mans have the joy of getting a QCR out of a regular booster box. So you can check that out as well. So he and I are gonna be working together on a couple things too, and probably gonna be throwing some wild things my way as well. But just let me know what you guys want to see more in the new year. Tell me what you guys are thinking for your New Year's resolutions and type of plans that you guys have. And let's keep this community going, chit chat, have some fun, and see where we go. But in the meantime, it's KingXeph. No time to explain. Happy New Year. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.